All right, nerds, today we're going to be talking about the Southwest Division, which to me is one of the most interesting divisions in the NBA, filled with a ton of talent and with a couple teams that have retooled really well. Actually, three teams that have retooled really well to make for an incredibly competitive Western Conference. I want to talk about each team individually and where I think they'll end at the end of the year. The first team I want to talk about is one of the teams that made one of the best moves in the draft. They look like they've really started the process to moving towards the future while also holding on to a little bit of veteran talent to guide the way. It's the Dallas Mavericks. The best trade in this draft easily was when Dallas traded up for Luka Doncic. Now, Doncic hasn't played a single game in the NBA, so we don't know how good he's going to be yet, but we know he's going to have a very high floor. It's just going to be interesting to see how high that ceiling is. Now, to me, Doncic looks like he's going to be high-level Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward, when he was on the Utah Jazz, was a great player and did really great things. And if that's what Doncic becomes, that's a really nice player. I don't know if that's a player that changes the scope of your team, but he's a player that's really good and helps you win games. Now, I think actually Doncic has a chance to be better than that because it took 7 years for Gordon Hayward to become an all-star. Doncic has a chance to be an all-star within a few years if he plays to the potential some people are saying that he has. And the fact that they have Dennis Smith Jr. to line up next to him is fantastic. You've got a backcourt or at least a 1 and a 3 that's going to be really exciting for years to come. It sounds like Dirk Nowitzki might be coming off the bench this year, which is actually probably a great thing. It allows them to have some great bench scoring and leadership. And they've got some nice pieces to fill in the gaps. The thing that's nice for Dallas, and the reason that was a smart move, is that they're going to be able to build around Dennis Smith Jr. and Doncic. And they've already shown in the past that they're able to bring players over. And the thing that's interesting about Dallas is they bring over DeAndre Jordan as well. So this year, they're kind of a wide variance team. They could be the worst team in the Southwest Division, or they could be a playoff team. So they're going to be as interesting as could be, and they're going to be fun. At the very least, the Dallas Mavericks are going to be really fun to watch, really interesting. They've got old vets and young players, and it kind of fits perfectly because it allows Doncic and Smith Jr. to just develop and become something interesting. I don't know if that really converts to wins this year. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments why. All right, next team in this division that I think will fall fourth in the Southwest Division is going to be the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies get back Conley and Gasol. Well, Gasol played last year, but they tanked, and anytime they actually got close, they'd keep him from playing. Conley's a really nice player, but he just gets injured all the time. But I think that if Conley can stay healthy and Gasol has at least another year or two of good play in him, the Grizzlies are going to be good. The question is how good. I don't know if Marc Gasol is going to continue his play. The thing about Marc Gasol is that his game is going to age well. It's never been based off of athleticism and explosion. It's size and strength and skill. That he's like Arvydas Sabonis basically, and he's going to be able to do the same things last year, and he's going to do them this year. Grizzlies are fun, interesting. I really like Mike Conley. Still probably one of the most underrated players out there, and consistently is forgotten as one of the best point guards out there. The Grizzlies are going to win a lot of games. I don't know how many, though. I think there's kind of a ceiling with the Grizzlies. They are very, very fragile in terms of depth. We saw that last year. Conley went down, and this team was bottom 5 in the lottery. And they got a really nice player in Jaren Jackson, who's going to be very good. And you never know. Maybe Jackson is fantastic alongside Gasol. Gasol's going to be able to teach him a lot of things, like just the ins and outs of NBA defenses, the nuances that take time to learn. He's going to learn them from Gasol, former Defensive Player of the Year. It's going to be really good. I don't know if they're good enough to make the playoffs, but they are also a team that has retooled. They get arguably their best player back in Conley. And who knows, maybe the Grizzlies just shock some people and win games. Does Chandler Parsons play? I think he's on the roster still. Maybe he can actually play. I don't know. What if he played and he was kind of good? That'd be kind of interesting. If you're a Grizzlies fan, that anything from Parsons would be great. But anyways, Grizzlies will be fourth in this division. They'll be interesting. They're retooled. they'll win some games. They might win more than you expect. But I don't know if they're anything more than that. All right, next team I want to talk about is the team I think is going to fall third in this division. They had a really good playoffs, actually, is the New Orleans Pelicans. You've got Drew Holiday. You've got arguably the best player in the NBA, or at least top 5, in Anthony Davis, who, because he's in New Orleans, doesn't get talked about enough. But he is going to be fantastic. Anthony Davis might be the MVP of the league this year because Harden's gotten it before, Westbrook before. Anthony Davis is going to put up big-time numbers, and Drew Holiday's always been good, but he really showed what he does well in the playoffs, just dominated the Portland Trail Blazers, and they swept the Trail Blazers. It wasn't ever close. And Anthony Davis kind of blossomed into the superstar he's always been, but he really kind of showed out finally, and I think that they're going to do that this year. They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to be just a monster and a tough team to get out because Davis is just that good. He bends the defense. You've got to double him. And when you've got a player like Drew Holiday playing off of him, you're doing really well. The problem is that when I look at the New Orleans Pelicans roster, you're not really seeing any superstars out for them to play off of them. I really like Nikola Mirotic playing off of Anthony Davis. Losing DeMarcus Cousins was not a big deal. Honestly, some people will say, oh, DeMarcus Cousins, he had a torn Achilles. He wasn't even going to play. And when he did, it's still awkward. And I know they started to figure out how to win. It's easier for them to win with Anthony Davis at the center and Mirotic at the 4. It just works. And we saw it. It was dominant against the Trailblazers. And it's going to win a lot of games this year if they can stay healthy. I really liked the Julius Randle pickup. I think they can have some really interesting things with Randle. I love that Randle can handle the ball a little bit, play off of Anthony Davis. Davis is going to attract bigs to guard him, and Randle is going to get lanes to the hoop, and that's what he does well. He is a bruiser that gets to the rim, he rebounds, and he's a capable passer. He's actually a surprisingly good passer. So I think the Pelicans are interesting. I think they've done I think they had a nice offseason, and they did some interesting things. Sometimes you watch the Pelicans and they don't make the greatest offseason moves that aren't always, but the Mirotic pickup was a great pickup, and Julius Randle is going to be nice, and they got him on the cheap. I think it was $8 million a year. That's great for a really nice third big that's going to come in and play off of those guys. Randle's going to play 25 minutes a night and take a little bit of pressure off of Anthony Davis. That's great. So the Pelicans will be fun. They'll be third in this division, which is a tough division, by the way, and win a lot of games and probably get the MVP by the end of the year. All right, next team, and maybe it's a surprise, shouldn't be though, is the San Antonio Spurs. Now, the reason I like the Spurs this year, and I think they're going to be better than last year, we all know what happened in the offseason. They lost Kawhi. He went to the Raptors. But they replaced him with DeMar DeRozan. And the Spurs won a lot of games last year without Kawhi. He played like 8 games or whatever it was. You get DeMar DeRozan the whole year. And I don't really believe that in Toronto, DeMar was getting the greatest coaching out there. Now he goes to one of the greatest coaches of all time in Greg Popovich. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm interested to see how they do. You could find DeMar DeRozan doing some really interesting things that maybe he's never done, like actual system. In Toronto, it's a lot of ISO ball and a lot of like draw fouls and things like that. With the Spurs, he's going to be in an actual system. Popovich will, if anyone can do it, Popovich can, and that will bring out even more of DeMar DeRozan, bring out the best in him. And just make him the best player he can possibly be. The Spurs system will give him some chances to use his talents because DeMar DeRozan is very, very talented and just haven't ever really quite figured it out. It's funny, the Spurs are always kind of like the anti-modern ball sometimes. They're always trying to do, like, they have a mid-range system at times, and that's where DeMar will live at and do okay. And I don't know if it's just funny. The Spurs always find a way to win. They alter their systems based off of the talent they have, and they just find a way to win a lot of games. Watch the Spurs win 55 games this year because that's just what the Spurs do. Popovich will find a way to win games. He always does. His system will make DeMar better. You get LaMarcus Aldridge, who was an all-star last year, or at least all-star level and all-NBA level center, and I don't see why he can't be the same level this year. He's incredibly talented, and it's going to be fun to watch. Spurs are going to be good. Death, taxes, Spurs winning basketball games. That's what's going to happen. All right, finally, and I want to shout out to all the Houston fans who talk on here. You guys are awesome. I love your comments. But the Houston Rockets are going to be the number one team in this division and might be the number one team in the NBA. I know we've talked a lot about Trevor Ariza leaving and Mbah a Moute leaving. Let's be honest. The Houston Rockets have a big three and a legit big three. The big move was Clint Capella. You know, people are talking about Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony's not even really going to play. Like, Carmelo Anthony might get some minutes off the bench. Maybe. He's getting like $1 million or $2 million. If he doesn't play well, they're not going to play him. There is no mandate to play Carmelo Anthony. It's a non-story. The story is that James Harden, Chris Paul, and Clint Capella get another year together, and were incredible when those three were on the floor. Will their defense be as good as last year? Probably not, because Trevor Ariza and Mbah a Moute are really good defensive players. But you know what else might happen this year for the Houston Rockets? They won't miss 11 threes in a row when you could have beat the Golden State Warriors. Trevor Ariza did not hit the threes, and you could argue cost them that game. They should have beat the Golden State Warriors. You don't need that. This year it's going through Capella, Paul, and Harden. And Chris Paul is a rock star, top 10 player. James Harden, top 10 player. They're going to be just as good. Will they be the number one defense in the league? Probably not. But they'll probably be top 10, and that's all they need to be because they have Clint Capella. He's very good, by the way. If you didn't know, Clint Capella, very good center in the NBA. Look it up, stats, whatever. Watch videos of it. But the Houston Rockets are going to be very good. And the little trades they did, like Brandon Knight coming over, fine, whatever. They've got Harden, Paul, and Capella, and that's all that matters. You fill in the gaps, and you win a lot of games. Because guess what? Chris Paul and James Harden they could pass the ball to me, and I'll somehow make shots. It's what happens on the Rockets. And so it doesn't matter. The Rockets are going to be great. They're going to win 55 to 60 games. Maybe not like 60, whatever it was last year. Whoa. They lose like 3 games more because they lost the players that can't be clutch. I'm still frustrated that they didn't win that game. They were the better team, and they should have been in the finals, and they should have won it all. I'm sorry, Houston fans. It's painful. But the luck is going to be in your hands this year, I think. Someone tell Chris Paul to cool it a little bit so he doesn't get hurt. Because Chris Paul destroyed the Jazz, and he was the reason that he outplayed Steph Curry. They were incredible, and they're going to be incredible this year. I talked about this last year, by the way. I told you guys that Chris Paul got picked up because in the playoffs, Harden will not get exhausted because Chris Paul will be on the floor, and it's exactly what happened. And they should have beat the Warriors. They would have, but Paul got hurt, and it sucks. But this year, they have another chance, and they very well could just do it again. Who cares? Like, they're going to be in the Western Conference Finals probably, except for maybe the Jazz stop them. But they are going to be very, very good. All right? There's the preview. Southwest Division. Really interesting. I hope you guys like and subscribe this video right now. We got so many things going. I think I'm going to start doing some team previews, I think, because I've talked about the divisions where fans actually care, like the Houston fans and the Jazz fans and the Rockets and Warriors fans. They care. The other divisions, they don't care. You guys are the best fans. So subscribe. Let's go. The season's starting in like a week. Preseason. Woo!